With me is Sri Lanka's top politician, Sajith Premadasa. He is the opposition leader in Sri Lanka currently, but has been wearing several hats as well. Welcome to WION. It's a pleasure to have you here in New Delhi, sir. And the first question is an obvious one about the India-Sri Lanka relationship. What's your sense about India-Sri Lanka relationship? You have met many top Indian ministers during your visit, including with the finance minister, with the Indian External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar.
Thank you for having me. The Indo-Sri Lanka relationship is a very important relationship. It's a relationship which has spanned across many decades. The historical, cultural links bind us together. And it is our fervent and sincere belief that the future prosperity and progress of both our countries are inextricably linked. As such, we would always encourage and support better linkages and relationships spanning all sectors and ensure that this relationship results in both our countries achieving their national objectives, and this relationship results in fruits and rich dividends for the people of both our countries.
Economically also, there have been a lot of engagement. India provided you support during the economic crisis. There is a talk of the review of the FTA as well. What's your sense like? You met the Indian finance minister as well, Nirmala Sitharaman.
Free trade agreements have already been signed and are in place. But there is a necessity to move forward. We need to progress. Free trade agreements that are based on fundamentally sound principles will result in prosperity and growth that would be mutually beneficial. We should ensure that when we build upon the free trade agreement, that those agreements result in competitive advantages and comparative advantages to both our countries and people. When those mutual benefits can be quantified and the quality benefits can be used to persuade the various stakeholders, I think we can progress in a speedy manner.
How do you see India's support during your country's economic crisis? India provided billions of dollars of support.
Sri Lanka went through triple tragedies: the Easter Sunday terrorist attack, the COVID corona health disaster, the bankruptcy situation due to ill-devised economic policies. When Sri Lanka was in trouble, when the people were in distress, India supported us, and India continues to support us. India has been the single largest donor to the tune of $4.2 billion in providing support that has provided some relief to the people of our country. So we are extremely grateful. I think we should base our relationship on authentic understanding of our own diversities in our countries, of our own national identities, and ensure that our roadmaps go hand in hand to bring about prosperity for the people, prosperity for the country, engage in constructive manner in all of the sectors: economic, political, social, educational, health, industrial. Ensure the connectivity is strengthened, and we will support that approach.
What's your sense on security dimension? Because as a famous quote exists that India's security is linked with Sri Lanka's security, Sri Lanka's security is linked with India's security. In the past, there have been concerns in Delhi over visits of research vessels, especially from China to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka introduced a moratorium as well. So what's your sense like if we have a potential government led by you in the future, what will be your message to New Delhi?
From our perspective, security is established through perpetuation of peace. We need to have peace building. We need to cooperate. And we must have a much broader definition of security. It is not just politico-military security. It spans other sectors, economic security, social security. So we have a very broad definition of security. Within that broad definition, if all of the countries that have misunderstandings, that have differing opinions on a variety of global issues, regional issues, in the name of peace building, if one can cooperate, come to understandings, as I see it from recent events, we see that there has been some normalization of relations between India and China. So that is good. That is good for peace. But as far as Sri Lanka and India is concerned, we have a special relationship. That special relationship has to be enhanced, has to be promoted and built upon. But working with India as a special friend, but also working with others, ensuring that the security interests of all are protected through peace building, through peacemaking. That's the approach that we would take.
What's your sense like when it comes to your country's relationship with China, your country's relationship with India? I know it's a tricky balancing act. India is your civilizational partner in many senses. China is an important partner in terms of development, in terms of infrastructure support, something that India has also been doing. But how do you balance out two? What's your sense like in the relationship between India and China and Sri Lanka?
This word balance, that comes about if we have these relations at a lower level. No, our relationship with all these countries is at a much higher level. Common security, common prosperity, benefit for our peoples. So it's an overarching approach that we have that does not go into petty political issues. We should look at the common interests. Common interests are best served by peace building, by prevalence of peace and security. That will result in economic growth, prosperity, and prosperity for our people. So what is of utmost importance is to reduce suspicion, have mutual respect for each other's territorial integrity, sovereignty, political independence, and its political character. If countries work on those principles in their inter-nation state relations, I think the world would be a better place.
So now going to the politics of Sri Lanka, where you play an important role. First thing first, in terms of the 13th Amendment, as the leader of the opposition, what's your sense like? What's your view like? It's been years. Of course, it's not been implemented. Do you see it being implemented in the future, or will there be a continuation of perhaps the lip service?
All I can tell you is our position. Our position has been, as always, as mentioned in our manifestos, that we will implement the 13th Amendment. People expect the implementation. The people of not just the North and East. It covers all 9 provinces of our country. It has provided political, economic, social empowerment through provincial governments. And we must ensure that the present law of the land, it's part of the supreme law of the land, part of the constitution, is implemented. So there are no need to speculate about our position. We are crystal clear about the fact that we have to implement the 13th Amendment. And we have said so. And we have done so through our pronouncements, our declarations, our proclamations, interviews, and most important of all, through our social contract with the people. That's the political manifesto. And we will continue to stand our ground.
Mm-hmm. This is perhaps a very generic question, but it perhaps would require a very strong answer from you. Where do you see your political future in a very evolving Sri Lankan politics? Last year's election was seen as a dramatic break from the past in many senses. Where do you see your future as, especially in terms of leading the country as the top leader?
I always respect the people's wish. So it's in the hands of the people of our country. It is not where I determine. I cannot dictate terms. I'm a democrat. I listen to the sentiments, to the wishes of the people. And I respect that. And I walk the talk. I abide by it.
Mm-hmm. There is a joint opposition protest that is being planned later this month in your country, but your party is perhaps not taking part in it. Any reason, any specific reasons?
What happens in our country as far as governance and opposition politics is concerned, I don't think it's right for me to come to India and have discussions regarding those things. But all I can say is, as a proactive opposition, we have addressed the shortcomings of the present policies, that have been anti-people. And of course, we will stand by the people and ensure that people's rights, human rights, in its broad definition, political, civic, economic, social, cultural, religious, and all of the rights are protected. It's very important that when we embark on programs, that those programs are done in a coherent and cohesive manner. People do not agree with the normal type of politics where there are various political affiliations based on head count. What's important is to have a common approach, a coherent strategy. And people want to see the viable alternative. And that viable alternative has to be formulated. It has to be coherent. And that ideology has to be accepted by the people. So at the end of the day, it's the wish of the people. And we will mobilize the forces, the people's forces, at the right time to ensure that people's grievances are addressed, that the national policies are formulated to serve the interests of the people rather than the political hierarchy. And we will work according to our own political strategies to achieve those ends.
Mm-hmm. So I know that politicians do not like speaking about their domestic politics on a foreign soil, that's for sure. But given that there is genuine interest, I'm pretty sure that Sri Lankans will be interested in elections in India, including the upcoming Bihar elections. But coming back to your country, we have a government which took charge last year. Do you think that the government has been able to fulfill the key mandate, key demand, key pledges when it comes to the promises it made during the elections? Are you hopeful that you will be able to meet the money that needs to be returned to the international lenders by 2028? I believe that will that deadline be followed? Do you think so?
Well, I can say quite openly that there is a mismatch between declarations that were made and actions that are taking place. I will confine to that. 2028 is the year that brings us towards the decision day. That's when our foreign debt obligations have to be fulfilled on a mass scale, on a large scale. In order to do so, we have to have faster economic growth, better foreign exchange reserves, vast improvements in export-led growth and export-led income, ensure our remittances are at a very high level. And most important of all, we need to have mass-scale foreign direct investment. So in all of those aspects, we seem to not be achieving according to the requisite targets. We are going at tortoise pace, and 2028 should not be a repetition of 2022. So we all have to unite as a country to ensure that that social debacle is not repeated. But it's very challenging. The path is full of obstacles, but with a determined approach, with a correct approach, with an authentic economic and development policy, we can achieve our objectives. Those challenges and obstacles are not insurmountable.
And India can, of course, play an important role as a country that can do a lot of investment in your country. There is plan of connectivity, not only in terms of the digital, which has been announced in terms of the financial connectivity, but the physical connectivity. There was this plan by the previous president of a land connectivity. What's your sense like? Do you think this project should go forward? Because it can be quite controversial for Sri Lankans.
It used to be that global politics was dominated by bipolarism. Now we live in a multipolar world. In a multipolar world, all are interconnected. Not mere interconnectedness. We are interconnected and interdependent. So these interdependencies should be thought of as opportunities, not as challenges, not as obstacles. We must remove ourselves from our parochial, old-fashioned positions. We have to think anew. We have to be innovative. We have to make sure that we go beyond the traditional framework and start working together. So we broadly support connectivity in all its facets. It can be digital, it can be economic, it can be business, entrepreneurship, new technology, MSMEs, the small and medium-sized enterprises, connectivity in the semiconductor business, electronics, where that connectivity is very important for Sri Lanka, because we have to go to the next step of our industrialization process. So it's very important that this broad connectivity approach is implemented. And as we go along, as certain suspicions that exist in certain quarters, those can be diminished only through achievement, only through resultants that are of mutual benefit to both our countries and peoples. So greater connectivity, greater interaction, and taking the relationship to the next level. That will ensure that certain suspicions that certain interested parties may have, that those will dissipate through time.
So your country saw the massive protests. We have seen similar protests in Bangladesh, in Nepal. Do you have any sense why this region, the Indian subcontinent, has witnessed these protests which have toppled governments? What's your sense like as a leading politician, as a statesman of this region?
I think it's different from country to country. I think the economic disaster, coupled with the pressures and distress that were put on people due to the consequences of the terrorist bombing, the Easter Sunday bombing, the Corona COVID crisis, all these came together and created a very, very propitious environment for dissenting opinions to come onto the streets. You had large queues for fuel, for bread, consumer items, gas, and various other items that are needed to fulfill basic human needs. So Sri Lanka's case, primarily, it was predicated upon the economic situation. So it changes from country to country. I think in democracies, this should not be the case. Primarily, this takes place because we don't have sound policy-making structures and processes that give out positive policy resultants. Because the democratic nature and democracies have to be protected. It cannot be subjugated to mob violence or mob rule. However, if the very same democratic systems result in constraining the democratic space, if the youth are not given their proper right to voice their opinions in the democratic structures, then we will have a problem. So it's very important that the democratic structures are strengthened to such an extent that we have sound policy making that results in good policies, good policy resultants that benefit the people. Then you won't have anybody on the streets.
But do you think now there will be no repetition in the future when it comes to Sri Lanka? The protests we saw, do you think that it will now won't happen given the fact that things look now sorted?
If there is a restriction of the democratic space, if the voices of the voiceless are not heard, if the democratic structures do not fulfill the expectations and the sentiments of the people, then all will be in trouble. We have to make sure that the 22 million people's voices are heard, that their grievances are addressed, that their expectations are fulfilled. And I sincerely believe that as the government in waiting, as the alternative government, which is the opposition, the main opposition party, we are equipped with the requisite skills, resources, and most important of all, a bottom-up vision, a vision that has been formulated addressing the concerns of the people of our country, that we will be able to fulfill the expectations of the people of our country.
So my last question before I leave you now, it's on international aspect, something that impacts everyone. That's on Donald Trump's tariffs. Has Donald Trump's tariffs impacted your country? Are you worried about it?
Certainly the reciprocal tariff efforts by the United States has created uncertainty, global uncertainty, uncertainty in the economic sectors, and uncertainty in the business sectors. So Sri Lanka, for one, needs to formulate an approach to work with the US government to ensure that our tariff rates are further reduced. As you may know, a vast majority of our garment exports go to limited destinations, of which United States is one. United States, the UK, and the European Union. So we have a problem having not diversified our trade destinations. So we as a country should ensure that we promote a policy of export market diversification in terms of destinations are concerned, while at the same time working with the US administration and working in a constructive, progressive, and productive manner to get the tariff rates that have been imposed, which I believe are 20%, to a lower level.
On that note, thank you so much, sir, for speaking on range of issues, whether it's India relationship, China, US, and other things. Hopefully, we'll meet you again, perhaps in Sri Lanka. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking to WION.
Thank you very much for having me.